hopefully this is what you guys are coming here to see. That's the whole purpose of this, is to promote the build of this, show you what we have to go through to be allowed to build these. We have commercial intent, so we're going to do everything through the Coast Guard that we have to do. And they look pretty awesome from here, but there's a good bit of work to be done. This is actually the better. That's a little bit of water in there I wiped out. But you can see good bit of cracking, a little bit of blistering or burning, and this is actually a good bit of work to come through here. We're gonna have to block this out. I cannot find green tooling gel coat, so she might look a little ugly when we're done, because I'm gonna have to use orange or black. But there's your hull mold. Good bit of, little bit of work. From what I know, there were only 2 produced out of this. I don't think they put an enormous amount of time into finishing. I don't believe they put an enormous amount of time or materials in it either. I believe some of this came about because the gel was thin. So when they buffed it, you really put some heat to it, and that will bring things to the surface like that. But I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me. But it's never just as easy as bring things home and start building things. There's always work to be done, and this is an enormous amount of work. I'm doing it in the garage below my house, so I really have to be careful about fuming out the family and things like that. So I think our biggest goal is to do some things so we can get our shop built so that we can go ham on these things. We're going to do some work on them. It's been pretty tough to get some work. It's winterizing season for us, so we're winterizing boats and wrapping up what's left of ours and getting ready to tackle into these. We're doing this in my garage, which makes it a little tougher. My garage is below my house. It's attached. So fiberglass smells go upstairs, so we keep it down to a minimum if we can. I guess I can say I don't have a ton of money into these molds. I didn't start off offering a lot, and I told the guy that when we got there and examined them, if they were worse than I thought, then we'd have to negotiate a little bit, because I was willing to make the drive. And the deck mold was basically a catch base, and I imagine it had trees and grass and moss and frogs and all kinds of stuff growing in it, but it's a start. It's easier than building a plug and then making a mold. I'd say this right here is the biggest concern for working in the garage. This is in the garage, and this is how I heat my house in the wintertime. And gel coat doesn't react very well to that, and it could be an issue. So we work small and build these molds. They're a negative impression. It's very hard to work in a negative. I've tooled for people before, rather large boats and some small parts, and it's really tough to work in a mold. So we're going to tool these out as best as we can, and we're going to produce a positive image. And from the positive image, we'll refine it. And if it needs be that we need to make a new mold, then that's what we're going to have to do, because I don't believe it's had the best construction of this mold. I believe there were some leftovers, and they kind of threw it together and built a project. I'm sure they did the best they could, but when they polished it, it brought a lot of things to the surface, and it was either due to not having enough gel coat or whatever. The blisters are straight from water damage. There's not much we can do about that. We've already worked the one side. I lost all the footage of working the one side. We have the 2 small pockets left, and I'll show you guys how I've been working on those. Now, I'm not treating it delicate like a lot of toolers would, and it's mostly because the more I work on it, the more defects come to the surface, and I don't want to put gel coat down and get ready to polish and go through all the problematics of laying it down, and then you polish it and everything comes back to the surface. So we're kind of roughing them up a lot, and we'll get what we get. If we only get one boat out of this mold, then we can go ahead and detail the positive image. It'd make it a little bit easier on me, and then I can produce a new mold. To achieve a better fit and finish, we're obviously not going to build 10-foot boats forever, but we'll build them as long as people want them. But we want to move into bigger boats, and I think this would be the best project to get my team trained up and to produce a really good fit and finish that we're proud of. We'll get our feet wet with the Coast Guard. Like I said, we don't have a ton of money into this. The 10-foot boats are a nice place to start right now with the economy where it's at. We're probably going to rig them. We're going to go for a 30 horsepower. 30 horsepowers are very economical. At full throttle, you're looking at like 1.8, 1.4 gallons an hour. With a little 6-gallon tank, I'm pretty sure you'll be worn out by the time your tank's empty. But when you get to drive them, that's when you realize how much fun these things really are. They are a blast to drive. They're easy to handle. They're great little boats, and they're actually a blast. Here's the deck mold. We brought it inside. It requires the most amount of work, in my opinion. This thing was obviously stored outside. They didn't store it in an angle where it drained water, so it was basically a water trough. And you can see where I've started over here, and this is the reason why it looks like that. There's an enormous amount of blistering, and I mean the camera's kind of hard to see. There you go, you can see it a little better. It's just blistered all the way down and around, couple cracks and stuff like that. I believe this is probably from polishing where the gel coat got wet sanded and there wasn't enough gel coat, so when they buffed it, it brought everything to the surface. Because when you buff boats, when you buff new boats, you'll kind of see that if you go a little bit hard and burn things, you'll bring things to the surface. And so this side hasn't been touched. And there you go. I mean, we're doing really good over here. What we're doing is we're working out the top so that we don't lose this line completely. So we'll work the top, and then I'll come in and get the blisters that are on the inside, because unfortunately there's blisters here, then there's blisters here. So, and that's actually been a good bit of work. And the gel coat was so thin that I just went ahead and roughed the whole area up, and we're literally just going to respray gel coat over all of this. And I'm using gel coat to work with as my putty. I'm building a gel putty, and then I'm working with it. And we were doing pretty good, and then the wife and I got sick, and it really slowed me down. So here I am back after a couple week hiatus, which kind of sucks because I'm kind of motivated to get this done. I really want to. I've got a lot to do. I've got to get an MIC number. I've got a lot to do through the Coast Guard, and obviously I've got a lot to do to just produce these things. But the dungeon's a mess. I apologize. I mean, so many things can happen in here at once. Well, there's your finished result of grinding. Everything looks good. I found my hammer, and this side went a whole lot better and went faster. A little bit of work to do down in here. A little bit, that'll take a different Dremel and things like that. But I had the door open and I got my mold a little bit cold. So I'm going to let the heat bring it up. And then I'll show you how I mix my gel putty. And then we'll putty this in. It's going to be rough. Get some wax in it. Put some surfacer in it. And I'll thicken her up. There it is laid in. It's a little rough, but I got it smoothed out pretty good. The sandpaper will handle the rest. We'll let this kick, and then body work will be another video. I got to get this shit going on.